Arizona's homeless explosion. 2025. You have no idea how bad it really is. By Streetside Witness. What if the fastest growing city in America also hit its deepest wound? I ask, boots crunching on sun-baked gravel. Arizona just logged 13,000 plus unsheltered neighbors in a single January dawn. That's one in every 545 Arizonans without a door to lock tonight. Stick with me. We rip open the untold truths, meet the humans behind the numbers, and hunt for hope. Smash that like, pound subscribe, and join the journey before another life is lost to the Sonoran heat. 1. The growing tide. Zoom out with me. On a single January dawn, more than 14,700 Arizonans were tallied without a stable bed, up 5% in 2023 and another 3.5% in 2024, a near 9% surge in just 2 winters. Deserts expand silently. So does despair. If a city of that size applied for statehood, it would outrank Sedona overnight. Slide south along Arham 17. Metro Phoenix logged 9,734 unhoused neighbors in this year's point-in-time sweep. But here's the sucker punch. The unsheltered share exploded 28%, while indoor beds shrank. What happens when the Valley of the Sun can't shield its own from the sun itself? Locals just call this block the Zone. Picture an industrial cul-de-sac the length of 7 football fields. A human services campus fights triage while about 800 souls stake tents where box trucks once idled. Across town, the canal banks of Sunny Slope flicker with sterno flames. Children practice scooter tricks around pallets at Encanto Park. And beneath the mesquite of Cesar Chavez Park, families string tarps between picnic tables they once used for birthday cakes. Yet numbers numb until a voice cuts through. Maria, 42, cradles a plush koala her daughter forgot during the eviction scramble. Rent was like a flash flood, she murmurs, eyes on the playground slide where they now sleep. One missed paycheck, whoosh, and the ground disappeared. Stick with me. Over the next chapters, we'll trace the riverbed that dried up the housing market, meet Jamal hustling 3 gigs at once, and ask outright, how did a state famous for wide open skies end up with nowhere left to breathe? Smash that like, join the journey, and let's keep walking. 2. Roots of the crisis. Why is it easier to spot a desert scorpion than an affordable studio these days? Arizona's rental vacancy has shriveled to 8.8%, barely half the healthy 15% economists like to see. That means for every dozen for rent signs that should line a block, only 6 actually hang in the sun. The market isn't tight, it's shrink-wrapped. Now layer on price, Zillow clocked Phoenix's median asking rent at $1,969 in June 2025, a fee that used to snag a mortgage in the pre-COVID days. Scroll the listings and you'll see 1-bedrooms pushing $2,000, carports not included. But wages, they jog while rents sprint. The Bureau of Labor Statistics pegs food prep and cleaning crews, our baristas, dishwashers, hotel housekeepers, at an average $19.04 an hour in Greater Phoenix. Work that out. Roughly $3,300 before taxes each month, yet landlords demand 3 times rent. Quick math, the rent-to-paycheck wedge yawns nearly $1,000 short every 31 days. Zoom out statewide, and the gap turns canyon deep. HUD's 2025 point-in-time sweep counted 3,307 unsheltered Arizonans across rural counties alone, proof that the crisis isn't just an urban heat phenomenon. Add up the metro totals, and you pass the population of many border towns. Supply simply can't keep up. The latest GAP 2025 report ranks Arizona among the bottom 5 for extremely low-income options, fewer than 30 affordable homes for every 100 renter households in need. Think of 10 families lining up for keys, 7 walk away empty-handed before the leasing agent finishes morning coffee. Jamal, 29, slices limes at a taco truck till midnight, drives rideshare before dawn. My tips melt into gas and Gatorade. Every payday feels like pouring water onto hot asphalt, gone before it hits the ground. So when pundits blame personal choices, remember the math. A shrinking vacancy rate, runaway rents, paychecks stuck in first gear, and a supply cliff that would humble the Grand Canyon. Stick around. Next, we learn what that math costs a body on the street. 3. Survival's heavy cost. Night on the street is an endless, choose-your-own peril. Do you bed down near a streetlight and risk harassment, or tuck into the wash and gamble flash floods? In Phoenix last summer, EMS logged 1,148 heat-related rescues of unhoused people, up 37% from 2023. Meanwhile, the Polaris hotline documented 322 human trafficking tips tied to Arizona, the highest in a decade. Predators prowl like coyotes circling a campfire. Food costs triple when you lack refrigeration, and clean water weighs more than dignity. People sell plasma twice a week to buy ice. Toilets close at dusk. Dehydration battles the fear of public urination tickets. All the while, code enforcement sweeps confiscate tents, an $80 nylon lifeline, faster than nonprofits can replace them. Lexi, 17, sits cross-legged on a discarded yoga mat, knees sunburned scarlet. I count buses, not sheep. If I stay awake through 4 routes, morning comes and nobody drags me into a car. The price of survival isn't just dollars, it's cortisol. Every decision: keep shoes on while sleeping or risk theft. Spend the last $4 on bus fare to a cooling station or ramen for a sibling. Withdraws from an already overdrafted nervous system. Small Wonder Banner Health found 43% of unsheltered patients screening positive for PTSD. When daylight breaks, the calculus resets. Trade a blanket for phone charging minutes. Guard a shopping cart in exchange for a half bottle of sunscreen. We talk about fiscal cliffs, but out here the cliffs are literal canal banks, where one misstep means heat stroke, and the drop is getting steeper. 4. Community trust under strain. Phoenix dispatch fields about one homelessness-related call every 8 minutes. 63,587 in 2024, up 44% year over year. Neighbors dial check welfare, suspicious person, illegal fire. Code words for I'm worried and I'm fed up. Yet only 16% result in a crime report. Proof that poverty, not criminality, drives the chatter. Enter the behavioral health units, 5 vans pairing an officer with a clinician. They've diverted 2,170 people from jail to treatment since rollout, saving an estimated $3.4 million in booking costs. Still, 5 vans for 517 square miles. That's 1 co-response team per city, the size of Detroit. In Mesa, a pilot care traffic stop reroutes minor infractions, expired tags, busted taillight, into on-the-spot social service referrals. Early data shows a 22% decrease in repeat citations among participants. Trust flowers where paperwork once bloomed. But headlines complicate hope. After the Supreme Court's Grants Pass ruling, Phoenix revived encampment clearouts, 124 sweeps in 5 months, up from 17 the previous year. Each sweep scatters medicine, IDs, and tenuous rapport. Police feel like demolition crews. Residents feel like trespassers in their own bodies. Healing that breach requires more than body cams. It takes common ground, shaded with cold water. Until then, every 9/11 ring is a bell tolling for a trust still under construction. 5. The weight of dependency. Substance use doesn't cause homelessness, but it sure loves a soft target. ADHS tallied 2,005 opioid overdoses among unhoused Arizonans in 2024, 5 fatalities a day. Meth, cheaper than lunch, now outpaces fentanyl and ER tox screens, ensuring stimulant psychosis fills psych beds before sunrise. Treatment slots? Maricopa County lists 96 detox beds for 4.7 million residents, while rural Apache and Navajo counties list 0. You could drive from Window Rock to Phoenix 4 hours before finding a nurse who can legally administer buprenorphine. Eddie, 54, flashes a 6-month sobriety coin under a parking lot street lamp. A stranger paid my first week in sober living. I tell new guys, shame is a backpack. Set it down. Hope is contagious, but so is relapse. Heat accelerates cravings. Police catalog spikes in public intoxication every time temps top 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Women, in particular, trade sex for shade. The Phoenix Rescue Mission's Changing Lives Center holds only 160 women and child beds, with a wait list touching 287. Comparing urban to rural paints a grim split screen. Cities have overcrowded detox, counties have none. Yet peer-run recovery coffee pop-ups in Yuma report 68% 6-month sobriety retention, dwarfing some clinical programs. Maybe community is the missing pharmacology. 6. Systems stretched thin. Shelters sprint, need sprints faster. Since 2022, agencies added 1,382 indoor beds, but unsheltered counts still balloon. Heat relief stations welcomed 28,000 visits during the first 100 scorched days of 2024, doling out 90-ton pallets of ice like battlefield medics. In classrooms, the picture is no cooler. Arizona's McKinney-Vento liaisons flagged 19,844 homeless students in 2024, a 10% jump from 2 years prior. Kids log onto algebra from truck beds, Wi-Fi hotspots devour the prepaid phone budget, and parents miss email alerts when shelter policies cut evening internet. Mental health workers, Arizona posts 28 licensed therapists per 100 KEVI residents, but for Medicaid-eligible adults, that drops to 19. The WHO benchmark is 50. Wait lists for an intake appointment now average 71 days, longer than some tents last. Voucher systems bridge nothing if residents can't cross the digital divide. HUD's Housing Choice portal crashed 3 times during the 2025 lottery. Advocates estimate 2,700 would-be applicants abandoned midway. It's hard to win a race when the starting gun misfires. Even nonprofits feel it. Volunteer rosters declined 18% post-pandemic as cost of living squeezes middle-class altruism. Systems aren't just stretched thin, they're threadbare, and monsoon season is coming. 7. Policy and public disconnect. Follow the money. Phoenix's fiscal year 25 to 26 budget allots $5 million, just 0.25% of its $2 billion general fund, to direct homelessness response. Compare that to $57 million for street repaving and you realize it's easier to fix asphalt than lives. Voters, meanwhile, passed Proposition 312, letting residents petition for tax refunds if the city fails to clear encampments within 72 hours. Opponents call it a financial hostage note. Proponents dub it accountability. Lawsuits loom like summer dust storms. At the Capitol, dueling bills paint stark futures. SB 1640 would criminalize public camping statewide, punishable by 30 days. HB 2319 proposes a $50 million housing first trust. Neither has cleared committee as of July 14, 2025. Legislators trade sound bites while tents breed under overpasses. Encampment ordinances? Since the Grants Pass decision, Phoenix reinstated a sit-lie ban in downtown corridors. Tucson rejected a similar measure, opting for $6 million in sanctioned camp funding instead. Residents ping-pong between cities, chasing lawful ground like musical chairs with 0 empty seats. The disconnect widens. Polling shows 62% of Arizonans support more shelter beds, but only 28% favor a new tax to fund them. Everyone wants solutions, few want the bill. Somewhere between those lines, tents keep blooming. 8. Building bridges through compassion. Where policy stalls, people improvise. Cloud-covered streets hauls its shower laundry trailer 3 times a week, scrubbing dignity into 60 guests per shift approximate showers a month. One stylist volunteers confidence trims, lining up fades under a pop-up awning. Tempe threatened a $1,500 fine on July 1st for an unauthorized event. Donors crowdfunded the penalty, raising double overnight and paying forward toiletries for 2 extra months. Compassion scales when bureaucracy miscalculates optics. On scorching afternoons, Burton Bar Library morphs into a cooling chapel, averaging 600 unique visitors each summer and distributing 4,800 bottles of water weekly. Across town, Feed Phoenix community tables serve 4,000 200 hot plates every week. Lasagna Tuesdays, Pozole Fridays, staffed by retirees who refuse to let Social Security be their last job. Mobile medical vans from Circle the City treat 14,000 patient encounters a year, stitching wounds before they fester into amputations that cost hospitals 100 times more. Every gallon of diesel saves a limb and maybe a resume. These aren't stopgaps, they're bridges. Bridges don't solve the river, but they keep people from drowning while engineers argue blueprints. And every handshake in a shower line is a vote for shared humanity. 9. Community-led light in the darkness. Step into Manna House, a former warehouse now bursting with murals. Artists from Artizona spray phoenix wings on plywood, selling prints that fund rent deposits. Over 18 months, they've placed 27 residents into permanent units. Art may not feed the stomach, but it nourishes the self that applies for a lease. Faith Circle's Fill the Gaps policy ignores. Vineyard Church's Better Together project sponsors sober living dues for 45 men and women. 68% remain housed at 1-year follow-up. Cottonwood's Garden of New Beginnings pairs relapse prevention with drip-irrigated veggies, selling peppers at farmers markets. Produce grown by people once labeled lost. Sarai, 33, dabs desert sunset hues onto a donated guitar. When you create beauty, you stop believing you're trash. You start believing you're a seed. Peer-run Narcan patrols cycle Tempe Town Lake at dusk, reversing overdoses before sirens arrive. 57 saves since January. And every Saturday, story circles gather around a fire pit, recording oral histories for a podcast. The most radical act? Letting someone finish a sentence uninterrupted. Dignity, purpose, belonging. Those are 3 chords any community can strum. Together they score a song louder than cynicism. 10. A future worth fighting for. Maria's stuffed koala, Jamal's lime-stained fingers, Lexi counting buses at 3 a.m., Eddie flipping his 6-month sober coin. Each of their stories flares like a desert constellation, sketching an unbroken map toward daylight. Picture a phoenix where rent is tethered to what people actually earn, so paychecks and lease agreements grow in step rather than tearing each other apart. Imagine every mental health crisis answered by a clinician and officer duo reimbursed through Medicaid, turning 911 from a revolving door to a real on-ramp for care. Now stretch your mind further. Idle state lots blooming into solar-roofed micro-villages, modular pods clustered around a shared courtyard, on-site case managers greeting residents by name, cool mist drifting across raised bed gardens. None of this is science fiction. The technology exists, the dollars have been outlined, the pilot programs are halfway built. What's missing is the chorus loud enough to drown out inertia. That chorus starts here. 1 volunteer Saturday, 1 email to a council member, 1 conversation that values data and dignity over rumor. Share this video so truth travels farther than cynicism. Then step outside with a bottle of cold water and a question that begins, "How can I help?" Close your eyes for a second and see a child walking into a perfectly air-conditioned classroom, backpack light, future wide open. That Arizona is real. It waits just beyond the edge of our collective courage. Let's meet it there. Smash that like, ring the bell, and join me, Streetside Witness, on the next journey. Until then, keep your heart open and your water cold.